Hey everyone, it's Michael and welcome to the Grease Pilot Show. If it's your first time tuning in, this is the show where all we talk about is aviation business, aviation entrepreneurship, and of course, aviation startups. If that's something that may be of interest to you, make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button. We've got a lot of content, free content for you guys out there looking to start your own thing in the aviation field. So on today's episode, what we're going to talk about is aviation insurance for aircraft maintenance companies. What kind of insurance do you need? Do you need it? What's the cost? How do you go about getting it? Those kinds of things. So I have my trusty clipboard here and I'm going to follow it because I want to make sure I hit all the points. And before we even get started, I film all these in the early morning in my studio down in my basement. So please forgive me for the way I look. I did just roll out of bed. So today's question, aviation or insurance for an aircraft maintenance startup. A lot of guys starting up the aviation industry decide, or this is a tough topic for them or a tough decision to make. Do they get insurance or do they not? And when they see the bill, a lot of the startup guys say, nah, I don't need the insurance because it's one of the more expensive things to purchase when you're starting up your insurance or your aviation business. So today we're going to talk about general aviation insurance for FAR Part 91 operations. So if you're working on pretty much all private aircraft and even flight school aircraft, I'm not sure about the 135 charter world. If you need to, you may have to ask the insurance broker what additional insurance you'll need for that. The shops that I were involved with and the ones I'm involved with today, we did work on 135 stuff. It wasn't like we didn't. And really what it boiled down to is the 135 people, we had to be on a drug and alcohol consortium. So we didn't do anything else with our insurance on our end. Maybe they did on their end. But once we were on that drug and alcohol program, then we got the green light to work on 135 stuff. But on the 91, FAR 91 aircraft, that's all private piston, any private operation that's not for hire, commercial operations, which is a big bulk of my business and most shops out there, small piston shops. That is what we're going to cover today, and the insurance for that. We're not experienced in airline operations. I'm not. So we're not going to talk about insurance to start an airline maintenance business up. It's got to be a lot more expensive than the general aviation stuff. Today we're going to talk about as if you were going to go open a shop. This is for guys that really don't have a lot of money. Maybe they're an aircraft mechanic working a job and they got a little bit of money saved up, or maybe they don't have any money. But this is how you get started. You know, you start in general aviation because it's cheaper. You know, everything's cheaper. Pistons are the most produced aircraft, and to this day they represent the largest number of aircraft in the total aircraft flying in the world. So it's a good place to start and get your feet wet in business ownership because it's the least expensive to get started. So we're going to discuss that today. Another topic is, you'll have to excuse me, I'm making these podcasts and I'm not going to edit them. So there'll be a lot of things that happen and you'll have to forgive me. And I mean, honestly, I said this before, I shouldn't even be apologizing. These podcasts are designed to get you information and information about starting aviation businesses, entrepreneurship in aviation, and that's it. You know, so like we're not going to go ahead and edit it and make it look all fancy. We're going to do the best we can to make it look good. But then it's up to you to take the content that you get from these videos, take what you like, trash what you don't. We don't care, but we hope this helps some of you guys out there. Okay. Another topic that that needs to be discussed about this for you guys starting up is kind of how the process goes. And I talk about this more in the course that we sell, how to start an aircraft maintenance business. And I strongly recommend you go buy it. I know it's my product. I get that I'm going to have a plug on here. But honestly, it really does show you the way step by step to start an aircraft maintenance business. And currently it's priced at $249. That's not going to last forever. It's a total steal. You're going to save hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars by buying it. So we go in depth in insurance and that and kind of show you more. But today I'm going to cover some of the surface stuff in the aviation insurance to get started. So you're going to deal with, when you get aviation insurance, you're going to work with an aviation insurance broker. I thought that all companies required that, or all aviation insurance companies require that you go through a broker. But I just learned that I think Avimco, if I'm correct, is the only insurance company out there that lets you go direct to them. So you might be interested in hitting them up and seeing if you can go direct, because anytime you add a middleman, it's going to increase the premium cost. So, but the rest of them, and the majority in all aircraft insurance companies, usually go through a broker. So you're kind of you're going to deal with the aircraft broker. And in our course, we show a list of all the current brokers, aviation insurance brokers for aircraft maintenance. But that's who you're going to deal with. You're not going to deal directly with the insurance company. So you're going to be in contact with an aviation insurance broker and work with them. They'll then convey the information to the aircraft insurance business. The underwriters at the insurance company, the aviation insurance company, will write the policy, ask questions to the broker, then they'll talk to you. So it's kind of a process. It's got a middleman. You have to deal with the middleman. Okay, and we'll go over some of the cost stuff. So aviation insurance cost is going to depend on, and stay in tune, by the way, because we're going to talk about how you can make it more affordable to get insurance, and we're going to talk about if you really need insurance or not. So insurance costs are going to depend on many factors, and I'm not going to be able to tell you all of them. So this is not an inclusive list, but this is what we've found with small piston shops starting up. This is what we see on the insurance ticket all the time, and we'll bring in an insurance paper to kind of an example on the video to show you an example policy. But here's some of the things that you'll be insured on. Airport premises liability. And this covers the damage for bodily injury, property damage arising out of the use of the airport premises for the parking and storage of aircraft. Airport premises liability. So that covers the damages arising out of the use of the airport premises for the parking and storage of aircraft. Hangar keepers liability, excuse me. This provides coverage for damage to destruction of the aircraft of others while in the insured's custody for storage, repair, or safekeeping. So while it's in your custody, this is the insurance that will cover if anything happens to the airplane while it's in your custody. That's hangar keepers liability. I should have edited these a little bit more. They were pulled offline, and they're kind of insurance-y the way they say them. But whole value, this is an easy one. This is simply the value of the aircraft. These are all things you'll see on the insurance policy. And then you have limits in each one of these categories, like $1 million limit, and that's going to dictate your policy. So how much you want to be insured for in the different areas is going to dictate your premium. So whole value, that's the cost of the aircraft. How expensive of an aircraft do you want to work on? Starting out, typically a $1 million policy. So you can work on airplanes have a whole value up to $1 million. Completed operations and products liability. This provides coverage for an incident arising from work the insured perform or you. So simply put, this covers if you work on an airplane and something happens to that airplane, an accident or something, this is where this products and operations, completed operations and products liability insurance will kick in. So that's an important one. Premises medical payments. This covers the reasonable medical cost for an injured person when a person is injured on a premises or property. Okay? Someone gets hurt while they're on your property or around your hangar or whatever, that's that coverage. Those are the main coverages on an insurance policy. If you're doing mobile operations, which we recommend you do starting out, you'll have some of that stuff may not be really applicable, but I think it still all does, and that's something you'll have to ask your broker. But I'm pretty sure that all of it still is applicable to mobile operations. Okay, so now that we talked about some of the things on the insurance policy, let's talk about, or let's back it up. A policy that's around $1 million coverage for a whole value of an aircraft up to $1 million, and the sample policy we showed you, $7,000 to $8,000 a year, right? Okay, that covers a small piston shop that's just starting out. They revenued around $300,000 to $400,000. That shop did, and that's what you're going to pay, which isn't bad if you're making that kind of money, right? You can pay that no problem. But if you're just starting up, they have a threshold where they start, and they're not going to go much below that. This is 2022, by the way. Those prices always rise year over year because of inflation and stuff, but they're never going to go below 7,000. I have not seen an insurance policy for any startup aviation maintenance company under 7,000. If you see one, if you know of one, let us know, and we'll definitely share it in our brokerage list. But so that's kind of like a pretty high expense, and that's why a lot of guys just don't get it. Which goes in the next topic of, do you need insurance to do aircraft maintenance like in your own business? And the answer is no, you don't. A lot of guys do it and they don't have insurance. So it's up to your risk, what you're willing to accept for risk. I've done maintenance on, I can count on one hand how many jobs I've done uninsured. And that's just because we wanted to make sure we had the insurance. We're not very I didn't want to risk it because we don't have insurance. I wanted that extra layer of protection. We've never had a claim on any of our insurance on the businesses I've been around. We had an incident where we did a pre-buy and a guy didn't come look at the airplane before he bought it. So the plane was cosmetically not the prettiest airplane, but airworthiness, it was good to go. So we did a pre-purchase evaluation on it, delivered the airplane, and he got upset after a year of having the plane. Took it to a shop and they started writing up all this stuff, and the stuff that they wrote up were things like oil pressure low. They didn't even give us like details, and when it left our shop, everything was acceptable. So we ran into an incident with that, and we tried to turn it into our insurance, and they said, you didn't do anything wrong, so we're not going to cover it, because there was no accident, no incident or anything like that. It was just some guy that was complaining about what plane he bought, and that's for a different podcast. And the point is like, if you're buying an airplane, go look at the airplane before you buy it. We had told the guy, hey, this airplane's not the prettiest, but mechanically it's good to go. It's fine. We had a pretty good squawk list on it too. It needed a lot of work, but for a pre-purchase, we gave him what we saw. We gave him the report, and he still decided to buy it. And so anyway, we haven't had any actual insurance incidents though, so or reports. So I don't know what that process is like, but I know that unless something happens, like an incident, then the insurance really doesn't kick in. So someone has to crash their plane, or damage has to happen to the plane for it to kick in. So let's go ahead and talk about, I'm looking at my clipboard here, so forgive me if I'm looking down a lot. I got my notes and I want to make sure I hit everything. We kind of talked about how much insurance is. The lowest is probably around 7,000. That's 2022 prices. This is kind of a golden nugget that if you want to learn how to break the insurance up so it's a little more affordable, you can ask the broker to do payments. Some brokers will break into 3 payments. Some will do, like, I've worked with ones where they've done loans over the course of like 9 payments and breaking it up into like $300, $400, $500 payments each month. And so ask the insurance broker, hey, do you guys do a payment system, right? When you get a quote for a premium or insurance policy, ask them that. Because they do that. I've worked with multiple companies, and after the first year, we have a system that we teach in our course that you don't have to do that after year 2. You don't have to break it up into payments. When you break it into payments, one of the operators I did in the early on stages of one of my companies, they charged interest with it too. It was like a loan. And we went through a third party. We worked with the broker, who then worked with a loan provider, who then gave me a loan to pay the pay the premium, and I paid the loan provider back. Of course, there was interest, so I paid more on it, which to get started, no problem. But we teach that you shouldn't. We teach how to get the most profit out of your company as possible. And anytime you pay interest, you're not making profit. You're giving that money away. So in our course, we teach you how to make sure that you pay the insurance premium on the next year, after the first year, in full. And not only that, but let's say that's your money. You know, when you save the money, you have the money in your account. If you don't want to get, let's say down the road, you're ready to retire out of your aircraft maintenance company and you're ready to be done. If you save that money, it's not like you have to get the insurance and renew it. So that's cash in your pocket for the premium. But we teach you how to save that money and be able to pay the insurance premiums in full on year 2 of your company. So make sure you ask for payments on the insurance provider if you don't have the capital up front to get the insurance. Okay, so that concludes this video on insurance. If you guys liked what you heard or you think it's interesting, insurance isn't maybe one of the best topics to talk about, but we're going to talk about all sorts of stuff related to aviation startups. So if you think that's of interest to you, make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button, because we're going to talk about aircraft maintenance companies, flight schools, you name it, charter businesses, brokerage businesses, detailing businesses, marketing, whatever you can think of in the aviation industry, we'll talk about it on the show. If it's talking about starting a business around it, we'll interview people that have these businesses on the show. As of this episode, we're a relatively new show, so give us time to kind of hone our craft here, but we're working on it. And like I said, our goal is to try to provide you guys with some content that can help you start your own company, because the aviation industry desperately needs entrepreneurs. You know, aviation itself is a small niche, and then you niche it down to business owners within aviation, and it gets even smaller. So it feels like it's a big family when you think about it. So you're very in tune with everybody, and it's nice to bring more family members on into the aviation entrepreneurship world, and that's what we want to do. So with that being said, thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button if you enjoyed this content, and we'll plan on seeing you next time on the Grease Pilot Show.